Alright, and we're live. What's going on, guys? My name is MirageWRLD, and I'm here to make a tier list of the best and worst characters in MKX for you guys. Alright. What are we gonna start off with? So, at the bottom tier, which I will call Garbo, these are characters that are just not viable for wins, and I do not see in a professional or casual setting them beating anywhere between an A tier to S plus tier player or character if they're using this person in the right way. By the way, I'm not ranking it off of the character plus variation. I'll make a whole different video just ranking just like the no variation character itself. But right now, I'm going off of based off what the variation does for the character. Alright? So, starting off with one of my least favorite variations in the game. And I'm not ranking, the variations in the tier itself. So these are just random. Buzzsaw Kung Lao. I'm pretty sure everyone saw this coming. Kung Lao is naturally a pressure-heavy character, locking you down in the corner and doing a lot of stagger pressure. I feel like Buzzsaw kind of contradicts that. I feel like this variation was supposed to be used more as a zoning variation, and just pros have turned it into like mixed city inside the corner. His low hat is not unsafe, but it's also still not plus, so you're giving up your turn if the opponent blocks it. That's all it does. He just has the low hat that hits low, and you can go back too low, back too low, or just raw low. Other than that, this variation is pretty weak for Kung Lao. He gets mediocre damage. Well, most of his damage is pretty weak in this variation, and I just feels like it's one of the weaker variations in the game overall. Alright, up next in Garbo tier, I'm gonna have to give it to Sonya Blade in her Special Forces variation. Okay, a lot of people are gonna think this is controversial, but Sonya, this variation just doesn't work for her. Demolition is the way better version of what this variation could have been. The drone takes way too long to call out and only stays for a limited time. And even though it is here, it doesn't really do much. I mean, the best feature that the drone has is it going low and maybe leading to a combo in the corner. But other than that, this variation doesn't do much for Sonya, like as a character who is in itself a pressure slash mix-up character. I just feel as there's variations like Special Forces that do a lot better than Special Forces actually does for her. Alright, next one in Garbo tier, where I'm gonna definitely have to give it to my boy Marksman Aaron Black. Wow. First off, Aaron Black's a high execution character anyway. 2-1-1-2-2 is a very high execution string that you shouldn't be messing up. And putting on top of Aaron Black, it does have 50-50s. I don't think Marksman helps this variation. Aaron Black is definitely a pressure character given most of his strings. He likes to stay up close. I feel like Marksman was supposed to contradict that by, helping with the zoning play style. You have the low gunshot, or just it looks like it's low but it's mid. He has the gunshot where he backs up and he's shooting at you like in the animation on the screen right now. And then he has the what's the other one called? The gunshot where he winds up the gun and smacks you into the air for a full combo. But the best feature of this variation is supposed to be the run cancel, and the run cancel isn't even plus. You can poke out of it every time, so I feel like this variation does nothing for it. You're better off just playing no variation Aaron Black, because this variation kind of literally makes the base character weaker in my opinion. Alright, next up, I hate to put it here, but you got Duelist Liu Kang. There's multiple reasons why it's here. Duelist is only plus during a stance switch off of one string, which is 4-2-1-3. Other than that, you can poke out of it every time, and if you're a noob and you've never played against it, then you'll probably get grabbed a lot. But once you've played the character and known he's plus or not, yeah, this variation doesn't do much for him. It's like the watered down Dragon's Fire. He can switch stances. One of them is zoning, which would be the light one, which is the animation on the screen. He can throw, high fire light balls, and the low version of it. Both of them are really slow, not even compared to the speed of Dragon's Fire's projectiles. He has a healing state that literally no one ever loses. It's in the animation right now on the screen. And the better version or better switch is the second version of this, which would be the red or dark form is what it's called. He shoots out these orbs that he can stop in place, and they're used for setups and more combo potential. They also do damage on block. You meter burn it and you can stop it. And if someone pokes, they will be popped up for a full combo. And he also can charge up for more damage on his fist. That side of this like form is way better than the light side, in my opinion. But this character is just weak overall, and I don't see anyone in this tier like beating A tier or anywhere between A tier to S plus. Like I don't think it's ever gonna really happen. All right. Next up, this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. You know where this is going. Unbreakable Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero is I consider him a really pressure-heavy character. Like, you're not supposed to let your opponent breathe or have time to think, and this variation contradicts that completely. It's more of a safe playstyle, in my opinion. He has the Frost Shield. It's like the better version of the slide, I guess. It's a really nice parry, in my opinion, but it's not going to catch a lot of people off guard. I usually, someone's playing Unbreakable on a wake up, I either hold low and still see the Frost Shield, I just jump over and I punish it, because jump overs do punish this, or you can wait and while they're trying to recover from it, get a full combo punish if you're fast enough. He has the Ice Aura. When you meter burn it on block, it does seem plus, and you can go for some grab pressure, but that's all you can really do with it. And he has like reduced chip damage, and when he meter burns it, it's like no chip damage at all. This variation is just not that high on the list compared to like all the other variations above it, so this is where I'm putting Unbreakable for now. Weird and controversial pick. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. Deceptive Reptile. Now, like I said, we're not ranking the base character. We're ranking the variation on what it does for the base character. Deceptive just gives Reptile invisibility. I do believe when you meter burn the invisibility, he does not take any chip damage, and when he's like somewhat halfway invisible, he takes like decent chip damage. Like when he's not meter burning the one move this variation allows, the chip damage is still trash in my opinion. And you can still see the mix-up, so it's only useful when you meter burn it. And the thing is, Reptile, he's definitely a mix-up character. He's always been one. And you can't react to his mix-ups, so I don't think the invisibility really changes that. You just can't see them. Even if you could see them, it's not like you could react to them in the first place. So I don't think Deceptive is relatively a variation that boosts this character. It kind of just, it's not lame, and does nothing for the character. Like, it's not making it worse, but it just does nothing for the character, in my opinion. Alright, next up, Ferrator. And I'm really biased against this because I hate Ferrator. But Vicious, be honest, out of the three variations, Vicious is significantly worse. Literally just has like steps to like his command grab and like gives it like 5 to 10 extra %. Ferrator by himself is already a pretty weak character, and that's why I like put his other variations high, because his other variations push him up so much higher in my tier list. But Vicious is honestly just horrendous and horrible in my opinion. Next up, we got Lasher Takeda. Takeda, all-around strong character. He has great 50-50s, great pressure. Lasher doesn't do that. Lasher adds a 50-50, but then, I don't know, they still gave him the low kunai, but then gave him like this low scoop thing. I feel like they should have took away the kunai, so it's more focused on like the lashing portion of it. He has the longest range jump-ins in the game. I do believe his down 4 into back 4-2 combos, if I'm not mistaken. But other than that, this variation's pretty weak. All the special moves that Lasher gives you, they're extremely unsafe, and anyone can punish them. And Lasher has to like literally scrape to get to a win. So I don't consider Lasher that high, so that's why it's in the lower tier, the lowest tier in my opinion. Next up, yet again, not a surprise towards a lot of people, but Spec Ops Cassie. Literal trash. Sonic Fox makes her look good because he doesn't do like the low like sweep setup bullshit, but other than that, this character's super weak. Base Cassie is okay or mid-tier in my opinion. Spec Ops doesn't boost her higher than that at all. And if anything, Spec Ops makes her worse in my opinion. I don't know. I feel like this just contradicts like her her mix-up heavy / like offensive like heavy play style, and Spec Ops like makes you like you have to like fish for those setups if you're gonna get a win with this character. Like, you're better off just playing no variation Cassie to get a win than like worrying about using what the variation has to offer. And last but not least, in Garbo tier, it's gonna have to be Drunken Master Bo Rai Chow. And base Bo Rai Chow, he's good. Lots of mix. If you don't know what you're doing, if you've seen the strings before, you can react to them and you can block accordingly. But what Drunken Master does is he literally gives him like different moves based on how drunk he is. But the reason why he's so low for me is because this variation doesn't help in clutch moments. You're drinking up, trying to gain like a little more damage, and like that little tech roll that he does that turns into a low. But at any point where you and an opponent are below 10% health, he can puke. He'll just puke anyway. And in those clutch moments is when he puke, is when someone gets a full combo punish and you can lose the game. Drunken Master is the worst variation for Bo Rai Chow, and I stand by that. Alright, well, that rounds out Garbo tier. I guess we're going to move up to C tier. And in C tier, we have Pretty Lady Leatherface. Completely zoning heavy. Leatherface is only has highs, not even a single mid in this variation. Yeah, it's just completely zoning. You instant air the chainsaw, throw it low. You can throw it like a high, like how the animation is seen, and that's about it. Some people use it to mix up in the corner with 1-2, but instead of doing the second part that's an overhead, they switch it up for the low. But other than that, this character doesn't have much to offer, in my opinion. And the reason why it's above Garbo is because it can zone out almost everyone in the variation below it, or the tier below it. It can zone out everyone in it. So Pretty Leatherface is the first person that is in C tier. Next up, Necromancer Shinnok. Every other variation of Shinnok has damage for days, really high pressure, nice mix. Necromancer is just straight up zoning, but like the reason why he's not in Garbo is because base Shinnok is pretty good. He still has the overheads, he has the lows, he has grab pressure, but in this variation it contradicts it by making you stay like mostly full screen and just spam his attacks. The overhead is sometimes tricky to deal with if you don't know what you're doing, but other than that, this variation can't go any higher than C in my opinion. Next up, we got Heavy Weapons Jax. I like Jax. Unpopular opinion. I really do. 1, 2, 3 is one of my favorite strings in the game. It just feels good to do and it looks good, and it's nice to hit confirm into a cancel. But other than that, this variation's cancels. None of them are plus. Not at all. I can poke out of them every time. If I'm using Melina, I'll ball roll every time. Jax cannot block in time, and high level players, if you're not using Melina or you don't want to waste a meter, they'll hold the cancel because they just don't, they're out of the fear of getting poked. But me, I'm a YOLO, so I'm going to YOLO ball roll every time, and it's going to hit you every time. Jax is a pressure heavy character, just base Jax. He's pressure heavy, a lot of stagger pressure, a lot of plus frames. But I feel like heavy weapons contradicts that, because in the name heavy weapons, I feel like it was supposed to be used for like more of a zoning play style. When you got up close, then I could start the mix, but it seems like it's supposed to be focused on more of like zoning wise. But I think that contradicts Jax's whole thing of being a boxer and wanting to be close in and like do hand-to-hand combat. So heavy weapons is in C tier for me. Right next to it, it's Pumped Up. Pumped Up is significantly worse than heavy weapons in my opinion. It's literally base Jax with a couple unblockables that are pretty reactable. Like when he jumps up and he like jumps down to do the ground pound, I neutral jump every time and I punish it because it's highly reactable. The purple is really bright and you can see it, you can visually react to it, and you have enough time to come up with a game plan to avoid it. So Pumped Up's where it's lower, but Pumped Up does improve just base Jax because it adds that unblockable factor to his already oppressive game style, aggressive play style. All right, what's next? Next up, we got Fisticuffs Johnny. Johnny is one of the best pressure characters in this game, hand down. 1-1 is like so quick and it's hard to react if he's going to stagger it and go for 4-2 overhead or finish it for just 1-1-3. It's really hard to react to that. And I feel like Fisticuffs like kind of ruins that, because everyone's always trying to activate the fist or whatever, but it's only plus if you do forward 3, activate fist, meter burn, and then like go into something else. It's only time it's actually plus, and only combos when you meter burn the activation. Obviously, the speed bag combo string is pretty cool to look at. One of the cooler brutalities in the game. But not a lot of people are gonna like use speed bag like as a pressure tool, because Johnny already has decent pressure. I feel like just like adding this variation just like takes away from base Johnny, in my opinion. But it also adds like one thing, which would be the excellent chip damage he gets once he activates the fisticuffs. The chip damage is, it's really nice. But yeah, he rounds out to about here on my tier list, in my opinion. Next up, Outlaw Aaron Black. A lot of people aren't going to agree with me with this because Sonic Fox makes Outlaw look broken, but then again, this is Sonic Fox, the best player in the world, who is known for making low tier and mid tier characters look like they should be in S. But think about it, Aaron Black's a pressure character slash 50-50s here and there, right? I believe Outlaw still has the command grab, or the tick throw, I should say, which is nice. So you can cancel 2-1-1 into the command grab. But other than that, he just has a larger reaching NJP, and the Takarn blade just adds like a bleed effect. But you have to be able to open up your opponent to be able to even like finish him off with the Takarn blade. I don't find myself being opened up by Aaron Blacks that much, and most of them lose to me unless they're playing Gunslinger. But this is where Outlaw rounds out to me. But it does have a nice neutral jump punch, which puts it towards more of the topper portion of C tier, in my opinion. Next, we have God. I hate this variation. Mournful, noob-friendly variation. Mournful's brain dead. All you have to do is jump backwards and throw the glaive. And once you start to come down and someone runs in, they just meter burn, glow kick, and then you're back at full screen. A lot of Mournfuls online just spam forward. Was it forward 2-1 up 4, and then they float cancel, then they throw the glaive, and then they kick over to you. It's really annoying to have to deal with because the glaive does arc downward, so it covers a nice portion of the screen. And if you get hit with it, then you're just back to full screen again. So it's more like full auto. You gotta be patient, wait your turn to get in, and hopefully the person that you're playing against doesn't have any meters, so they can't kick you full screen when you least suspect it. But Mournful is Noob's best friend, so that's why this variation's in C tier for me. Next up, Infernal Scorpion. Base Scorpion's pretty good. 2-1-4 is +2, 2-1 is +2. You can down 3 after it. He has nice stagger pressure. But with Inferno, it's all about trying to like mix and get that 50-50 going. And we all know about the infamous back 3 into low demon. Everyone that's played MKX has got hit with it at least once. It happens. But other than that, I don't see this variation as a huge threat to me. Maybe if like the demon that comes behind like smacks you in the back of the head, maybe if that was plus on block without you burning meter, that would be nice. But other than that, this variation doesn't really scare me or like put fear in me that much, because I can react to forward 4, and I know after it all you're gonna do is the low or meter burn the low, so it combos. So after you don't hit me with it, it's full combo punish. And yeah, so I mostly block low because I can react to the overhead, but you can't react to back 3. But if you do back 3 into low demon, it's another punish. So I just don't think this variation is anywhere near as strong as Scorpion's other 2 variations, in my opinion. Next up, we got Noxious Reptile. Reptile, yet again, it's base. He has really good stagger pressure, and he's a mix-up character. And Noxious is above Deceptive because he also inflicts unblockable damage, just naturally. And once an opponent gets below 10% health, you can activate the stink, that's what I call it, and it does even more damage. Or you can meter burn it, it does even more damage than the initial activation. So regardless of how much you're hurting Reptile, you're always going to take passive damage, and it's up to him how much you take it, or how much passive damage you're going to take. So on top of being an insane mix-up character, great stagger pressure, he always has you blocking most of the time, or trying to guess what he's going to do next. You're taking damage while also blocking. So a lot of people make mistakes against Noxious Reptiles because then they don't want to take the tick damage, and they want to like meter burn to get out of it. But if whatever you're meter burning is unsafe and he blocks it, you're just back into a combo. And if he has the Noxious Stink up, commons are doing anywhere between 35 to 45 with like no bar. Like it's not that hard for him to get that easy damage. So Noxus just, I don't know, it just pressures a lot of people online to push buttons because they're tired of taking tick damage, especially when they're lower on health and they're trying to keep that last 20%. So Noxus is towards, in this I know I said I was going to rank them per tier, but I'd put Noxus towards the topper portion of C tier. Alright, next. Lackey Ferritor. Obviously, the last variation that I haven't ranked yet for Ferritor is significantly better than the other two, but I feel like Lackey, I believe it still has the command grab, and it has like a lot of better normals than Vicious, of course, so that's why it's higher than it. But other than that, base Ferritor, it's not a high tier character, and the last tier for this character obviously is going to be way higher for the reasons that I'll state later in the vid. Next up, first variation, Venomous Devora. This variation is all about mixing and restand. It's 4-3 into the animation you see on the screen, which restands and does damage over time, and then the low into it. It's literally restanding your opponent and going in for more pressure and more mix. I'm not gonna lie, if you are below 10%, I think this character takes that. Nice GG's in my opinion. But yeah, Venomous isn't that strong in my opinion. After she restands you, she's obviously plus, and Devoras love to stagger forward 1 or forward 1-1 and then go into it. But if you can anticipate the stagger, you can down poke and then it's your turn. And Devora has some of the worst wake up options in this game, and all of them are punishable. So you should just wait your turn and don't push buttons when it's not your turn. Because if you do, then she's gonna just chip away at your health bar really slowly. Alright, what's next? Oh, yeah, I didn't forget. Brawler Cassie. Cassie is a base character, one of the best mids in the game. Back 1, 2, 4, and it's +2. But with this, she's given an overhead option to tackle you and punch you, and she's giving an air grab, and I do believe she has a tick throw. But what I don't like about the tick throw is it doesn't even tick off of like her best strings. Like I wish you could do like back 2 and then tick throw and it ticks on block, but it doesn't. I wish you could do back 1 and then tick throw, but that doesn't tick at all either, which really sucks. It's like her best strings don't have access to one of the best things in this variation. So without it, I don't see a lot of like Brawler Cassie's tick throwing people. Like the only time I see people even throwing out the tick throw is when on wake up, because a lot of people are going to try to block the overhead, and you can just wake up tick throw and catch them grabbing, or just grab them and throw them in the corner where you were once stuck in. That's the only good part I can see of this variation. And other than that, a lot of the only way you can get high damage with this variation is if you hit someone with an, the air grab and meter burn it. But what are the chances of you meeting someone air to air and then confirming and then activating the air grab? I have yet to see someone finish like a full combo except for my boy Eli. So yeah, Brawler's pretty low in my opinion in terms of like all the tier, in terms of my tier list and all the like variations in the game. Next up, I'm not sure if I like where I'm putting this, but it'll be here for now. Master of Storms. Raiden is an okay character. He's definitely carried by his variations a lot, and Master of Storms isn't one of them. It's just setting up traps. That's all it is. But the thing is, if you wait patiently and you're not pushing like 1,000 buttons, it's over. Raiden has one of the worst wake-up options in the game, which would be the Superman, the Thunderfly. But he also has one of the best ones, which is the Vicinity Blast, where he arcs the electricity over his entire body, and it's like +7 on block or something crazy like that. Well, the thing is with this variation, Raiden would want to stay up close to you so he can keep setting up traps and making you block the activation so he can have more pressure. But if you're someone that has a decent projectile, you can zone and keep him out most of the time, and he'd be forced to Superman his way in, and if he does and you react and block it, then that's it. He's gonna get punished. So Master of Storms is pretty weak in my opinion, and the only time I can see this variation being viable is if you have someone locked down in the corner and they're afraid to push buttons. But if you even have half a brain, you shouldn't be scared of this variation. Who do we have up next? Up next, High Tech Jackie. Now, before I get a lot of shit in the comments, High Tech Jackie as a base, great character. Insane plus frames. Almost every string she does is plus on block. But High Tech like the activation of her gauntlets is plus in itself, but you have to meter burn it. She has a run cancel, which is nice, and but the run cancel it's only plus, but when you do the string 1 2 1 and then you cancel it, like you can't go any farther in that string for it to be plus. Everything else she cancels off of is negative on block, and you can poke out of it. And one of the weaker things about Jackie, and that I love about her other variations, is that they give her range, like on her, not even her normals, just like her specials. This variation does nothing for that. It gives her no range at all, no get-in tools, no counter zoning, except for like the she can suck in projectiles, I believe, or parry them or absorb them. That's the word I'm looking for. She can absorb projectiles, but other than that, her other two variations outclass this one significantly. But the stagger pressure is scary if you don't know when she's plus and not plus. But I've had a lot of experience against a high tech, so I know when it's my turn to poke and do things, and versus when it definitely isn't. I should be praying to God that I don't get hit. Next up, Ancestral Kung Lao. Um, Even if you do optimal damage, you're only getting 35 max, and I mean, like, you have to put in work to get that 35. He has one of the weirdest vortex options in this game, like, possible. Like in his jump in, like it has like this low arc, so you have to like step back like for like one step, and then you can still get a jump in, which is a little weird, but it's nice. But other than that, Kung Lao is just a bunch of fake pressure. Not Kung Lao, my apologies. Kung Jin is just a bunch of fake pressure and a lot of weird mix-ups. You just have to wait your turn and just wait for him to mess up, which they always do. Like their mix-ups are literally unsafe, and they're just praying that you don't know that. And once you block a mix-up, it's your turn. And other than that, Kung Lao has some of the worst wake-up options. He has the overhead, and then the little flying dragon kick with fake Liu Kang thing he does. Both of them are unsafe if you have a character with a fast forward advancing mid or string. And yeah, so Ancestral is a lot of gimmicks, so that's why he's in C tier. And he's rounding out C tier, and that's it for C tier. And now we'll move on to B. Alright, this is where B tier I consider like characters that they can get you wins. They're pretty viable in most situations to get you a dub against any. They can get you a dub above anyone in C or Garbo. So B tier are just like balanced characters in my opinion. Takan Alien. So base alien, no variation alien I should say, is broken. Complete mix monster. But what Takarin does, it adds even more mix on top of that. With his Rekkas, he has an overhead option and a low option. And you mostly use those overhead and low options on block. But if you can hit confirm a normal string into the Rekkas, you can go for the grab version of it and meter burn and get significantly more damage. So on top of him already being a mix-up monster, this just adds like a reward for actually making your opponent guess wrong and getting more damage. So that's why Tarkatan would be in B tier in my opinion. Next up, Relentless Jason. Jason, in this variation's back one, is godlike. It is one of the fastest and best mids in the game. It's a very fast forward advancing mid string, and it's safe on block even if you don't special cancel it. What else? This variation offers the Lake Pursuit, which you can see in the animation, where he can teleport across the screen. But unless you meter burn it, it's trash. Because if you just do it without meter, use someone that can react to it. They can push 1-1-1 or do literally anything to down poke, and it's still their turn. Meter burn, he gains armor as he goes into the mist. But when he's exiting, you can just jump over or neutral jump, and then you can punish him for it, even if he tries to do back one really quickly. So this variation is pretty low in my opinion, but the only reason why I do have it this high in B tier is because the lower his health gets, the greater his damage gets. He could be at 10% health and he can do just a basic combo and it does like 42%, and it's not even that hard. And another thing is pursuits, where the red screen of death is what we should call it. It's where your inputs get reversed, and every time that happens, everyone tries to figure out what button's the best one to push in case he runs in. But all he has to do is wait for you to push a button, be just slightly out of range, and then back one with punish you, because back one is really far reaching. And then after that, it's easy, anywhere between 25 to 45% based on how low his health is. So this variation of Jason is pretty up there in mid tier, but he does have to put in a lot of work to get a win though, in my opinion. Alright, who's next up? Next up, one of my favorite variations, but I have to put this low. Wrestler Jax. Tick throw characters are relatively higher on the tier list for me, only because tick throw pressure literally scares the hell out of everyone. Literally scares the hell out of everyone. Jax can do just standing one to tick throw and throw you around a little bit. 16% if you don't get the one frame link, which is still pretty good. He can do what was it, 1, 2, 4 into tick throw pressure, another 16% if you don't know how to neutral jump, and even if you do neutral jump, he can just do 1, 2, 4 into the, what was it, the overhead Superman punch, which is a full combo if he meter burns it, and it's like 32% just because you thought that you were guessing right. So Jax has amazing mids with 4, 2, 1, and he's an amazing pressure character, and I feel like Wrestler just builds upon his base character. Like, so far on the tier list, I think Wrestler is like the fourth or fifth variation that improves the character, in my opinion. Alright, who's next up? Oh yeah, this is easy pick. Kenjutsu, easily. Kenjutsu, everyone would probably put on higher because he has mix. He has 4-2, which is an overhead, back 3, which is a low, and he has a overhead special move that can lead to full combos. But I can personally react to 4-2, so I'm only scared of back 2 or back 3-2, which is the low starter into the overhead. Meter burn overhead is unsafe on block against a lot of characters that have fast forward advancing strings, so I'm never scared of this character. And because I can react to forward 2, I know what's coming after it is down forward 1, which is the overhead string, so I'm not scared of that either because I can punish. So this character, he's pressure heavy and he's mix up heavy, but in my opinion, I can outplay him every time. Next up, not too far, Balance Kenshi. Balance Kenshi is really zoning heavy. He has some of the best zoning in the game, considering that he doesn't even have to touch you at all. He can beat you from full screen. Just like full auto Jackie, you have to take your time and not get frustrated and try to run in for a combo. And if you can react, and if you have a fast teleport like Scorpions, you can teleport behind him and punish his zoning or his zoning playstyle. But don't get that wrong, because Kenshi up close is a beast. He has Rising Karma, and in the corner, Rising Karma leads to like what, 45% with just one bar, which is crazy. And then you're into a knockdown and some more pressure. Kenshi, base Kenshi is he's pretty decent, but balance builds upon it because Kenshi has standing 4-2-1. It's one of his main strings, and it's +2 on block. So after you do that string, what I do is I don't special cancel. I back up a little bit, wait for someone to push a down one or think it's their turn, and then I use back one, which is one of the best mids in the game. It's really forward advancing, and then I use 2 Rising Karma. It's basically a bait and snatch that I use with balance. And it's the only way that you can play balance unless you're gonna zone. So balance is pretty mid-tier in this game, in my opinion. Next up, Gunslinger Aaron Black. I feel like Gunslinger Aaron Black. Gunslinger was supposed to fulfill the same role as Marksman with zoning, but it's better. It's just way better. He has the stance, which he can also cancel, which a lot of people don't because there's no reason to cancel because he has the low option. It's really damaging on block, and if someone's below 5%, I think it's gonna kill. He has the cow chops in this variation. He has the uprise gun, which if you can hit confirm correctly, it leads to a full combo mid-screen and in the corner. And he has the animation that's on the screen where he steps backward and shoots 2 guns at you. And to someone that is trying to, if you want to back up from your opponent, it's a good way to put some space in between the two of you and then go in for a jump in and get more mix. And the reason why Gunslinger is so low for me is solely because Aaron Black's a pressure character, and I feel like Gunslinger was meant to be more of like zoning heavy, and it's not easy to hit confirm 2-1-1 into the rising up guns. It honestly isn't, in my opinion. So that's why Gunslinger is this low for me. Alright, next up we got Royal Storm Katana. Base Katana is broken. Zoning heavy character, beautiful pressure. And Whirlstorm adds to it because she's zoning heavy, but then she also gets rid of zoning with her tornado spin. It sends projectiles back flying towards you, so she can shoot projectiles at you, but you can't shoot them at her. So a zoner, but that can also counter anyone that was trying to outzone her. That's always going to be a good mix. And Katana has good pressure, decent mids, far-reaching mids, and the only thing she's missing is actual mix-up pressure, because she doesn't have her one mix-up, which is an overhead, leads to a full knockdown, and everything else she has a low. So I'd always take the overhead instead of the low, because the low leads to 45 in the corner. Alright, who's next up in this one? Next up, one of my favorite variations in the game, Flame Fist Liu Kang. No one's going to argue that this variation has the best chip damage in this entire game. Just normal windmill punch is about 5%, and with the Flame Fist activation, anywhere between, I think it's like something crazy, like 7 to like 8 or 9%. This variation is crazy. If he actually can hit confirm and get a touch into windmill punch with the flame activated, you're eating 35 easily for just like 1-1, just like forward 4-4 into windmill punch into like dragon's fist. Like that's it. You're eating 35% that easily for like brain dead damage. Like it doesn't even make sense. If you've mastered the forward 2-1-3, then you activate windmill punch, and then you can special cancel into when you activate, my apologies if I'm wording this incorrectly. If you do forward 2-1-3 and you do down 1 into the flame fist activation, and then you do the windmill punch, if you know that link, this character is dangerous, because that means I'm guaranteed chip damage every time I touch you. And the reason why it's not higher is because after the windmill punch, he's unsafe. There's nothing that he can do that you can't avoid. The low fireball, blockable, punishable. The dragon's fist, you can't do it out of the windmill punch unless you meet a burn, and even if you do, I have enough time to jump over and still full combo punish you. There's literally nothing that you can do after the windmill punch that is safe. So you either do windmill punch, and then what I suggest is that you just don't push anything, and then you just hold block. So yeah, other than that, this variation is a damage powerhouse, pressure powerhouse, best chip damage in the game. So B tier seems like a pretty fair place to put it. Alright, next up, Noob Specialist, Ninjutsu Scorpion. Every person that starts off this game learns Ninjutsu, and I'm pretty good at the game, as you guys have seen on the channel, and even I am broken with Ninjutsu. Ninjutsu is 4-2 and back 2, some of the best range in the game. You can mix up forward 2 by special canceling it into back forward 4, which goes into the low, and it's a really it's like a really like, that's a really confusing thing to deal with, because it's like the most annoying thing when you have like 5% health and he gets you with that mix up. It's a little cheap, but it gets the job done. This variation has insane range on top of Scorpion's insane plus frames, and yeah, this variation will catch you slipping like literally all the time. It has one of the best vortex options in the game, and yeah, it's not stamina heavy, and back 2 has really good range. It can catch opponents in the air. I use it as an anti-air all the time because it arcs up directly over my head. So if you're in front of me, I can just do back 2 and catch you in the air before you even know it. So yeah, in Jiu-Jitsu, it's a scrub-friendly variation, but also it's a really good variation, and I think like high B tier is probably where I'd put it. Next up, War God Kotal. Straight mix. All it is. There's nothing special about it. It's straight mix. Kotal has always been pressure heavy. My boy Bad, he likes to play no variation Kotal because he just loves the straight up pressure and just like just being able to just beat on people with no variation of Kotal, in my opinion. And Bad, if you're watching this, don't call me bitching about it. You know I'm right. But yeah, War God Kotal, straight up mix. He has an overhead, he has a low, and he also has an unblockable. Unblockable's reactable though. He can cancel it like halfway through the unblockable, but you can react to the cancel and still down 1, and then you can get your turn back. The low and overhead are both unsafe, but what makes this variation so good is that in some of his strings, he has overhead enders and low enders that you can switch out for the low special move and overhead special move, which is nice. I like his variation a lot because Only the low special move has armor on wake up, so a lot of people are going to be run up and block low and try to like punish you for it. But then I usually just meter burn the overhead, which launches, and you know I just get my combo. But yeah, War God Kotal, you stagger forward one into the low with overhead. It's straight up mix, and you just have to guess. And he has insane pressure. But other than that, once you're the one doing the pressure, War God can't do much to stop you. Next up, Crowdmancer Sub-Zero. I'm not gonna surprise. I think Crowdmancer it's always gonna be like mid tier in the game. Sub-Zero's base kit is pretty nice and he's pressure heavy, and Crowdmancer does kind of add to it. I just wish the overhead hammer was a little faster because it's hella reactable in my opinion. The thing that makes this version so scary is tick throw pressure. He can do forward 4-2 tick throw, ticks on block. Back 3, which is his low starter, and he can just tick throw instead of doing back 3-3. Standing 1 tick throw, forward 1-2 tick throw. Like it's tick throw pressure. And once he tick throws, he can special cancel out of that. Go into meter burn, hammer, and full combo. He can refreeze you, back up, do a jump in, and then just reset you. Especially in the corner, it's pretty strong. And the tick throw is just pretty good. It also ticks off of down pokes if you're not fast enough to react to them. So Chiromancer being right here is honestly a decent place to put him because Sub-Zero is already a pressure heavy character, and I tech throws into that, it's a nightmare. Alright, next up, one of my favorite characters in the game, Nimble Reptile. Yet again, Reptile is pressure heavy character. Mix that in with Flash's ability from Injustice, he's difficult to deal with. See, the thing is about when he ups the speed off of, or when he like gets faster, that's like the slow-mo thing, is that you slow down. Your pokes, your normals, your everything is slowed significantly, while his animation is sped up. So in the corner, you can't poke or get out of it. You can meter burn, but he's gonna break your armor because you're still moving slow and his strings are moving faster. He can break anyone's armor in the corner unless it's like insanely fast, like Melina's ball roll, or if you're playing Reptile and you do your meter burn slide. Um, in the corner, when he activates Nimble, I think the overhead option is still 50 plus and the low one's 50 plus, so you're getting 50% if someone guesses wrong every time. So Nibbles likes that. Reptile's already pressure heavy, so and if you get caught lacking in the corner, it's over. Especially when the green skin's death is up. All right, who's next? Here we go. Ravenous Melina. I know that I told you guys I'm not ranking characters within the tier, but I'd put Ravenous towards the lower side of the tier list. The only reason why she's like even made it to B is because base Melina is still insane. The ball roll is one of the best anti-airs in the game, and it rolls under most mids on startup. I don't care how fast your mid is, the ball roll will beat it 90% of the time. And add in, she has some command grab pressure, I believe, in this variation. I don't see a lot of people play Ravenous, but she does have command grab pressure, and she's pressure heavy because 2-1 or 1-2, I should say, or 1-2-3, it's +2 on block, and it pushes you back a little bit and leaves you in perfect range for a down 3 or a down 4 poke. And yeah, she's just pressure heavy. It's mostly always her turn, and even when you do think it's your turn, she'll randomly ball roll and still her turn back and fully combo punish you. This character this variation would be a lot more damage if it had more mix, but thankfully Melina's overhead's reactable and everything else is low, so just block low and be ready for the overhead when it comes, because overhead's like 3,000 frames, so anyone can react to it in my opinion. Next up, we got Broodmother Devora. Devora as a base character, it's okay, but as I said, I'm ranking the variations by how much they improve the base character, and Broodmother does that significantly. The low crawler is one of the most annoying things in the world to deal with, because it comes across the screen and kind of gives her setup potential to go for a 4-3 unblockable setup type of thing, and with this variation, I just feel like it's hard to open up your opponent because forward 1-1, it's like the low crawler. It's reactable. If I have a character with a fast 1-1-1, I'm going to do it. I can NJP, I can jump over to punish you, but if it does hit me, it is plus on block and it is still her turn. But I feel like in this variation, Devora isn't as scary as her best variation, of course. Next up, Thunder God Raiden. I love run cancel characters. I'm not sure if you guys know, but run cancel characters, I don't know, they just give like a type of style to the game. Base Raiden is decent. He has an overhead mix and a low. Overhead's extremely punishable if you have a forward advancing mid or a high. But with Thunder God, he has cancels. He can cancel the overhead into a cancel and run in for a grab or just more pressure. It's just my problem with Raiden is that he doesn't have a lot of fast moving, like a lot of fast mids. You know, the only good mid he has is back 1-4, which restands, and people only use that like as a combo ender. And if you do back 1-4 and try to cancel like on block, it's not safe. Or it's not plus, I can poke out of it. I feel like the Thunder or the cancel that he has, it's not really that plus at all. It's just used to extend combos and get like restand potential. But in the corner, when he restands you back 1-4, it's right back into Mix City, back 2-2, or back 2 I should say, or back 3-2, and both of them lead to 35+% damage and more if you have bar. So Thunder God Raiden does make him pretty scary because cancel pressure is always going to be scary with any character, and he could just cancel into a grab or cancel into a down poke or cancel into a mid if you're not expecting it. Yeah, so cancel characters are always going to relatively be a little bit higher on my list because cancel pressure is really scary to deal with. Alright, so we're getting towards some of the better characters in this tier, the last two I should say in this tier, and Warlock Quan Chi. Quan Chi, the mix monster. The overhead into the low rune is annoying to deal with if you're not expecting it. He has also a low starter, and what this variation does is it's anti-zoning. As you can see in the animation, his hand reaches into a portal, but what it does is full screen is it grabs you and it brings you towards him. And most people, including me, would try to like out zone or zone out Quan Chi, even though he has some of the best zoning in the game, because he's even more scarier up close. But what that special move does is it grabs you and throws you directly in front of him. So now you're back in Mix City. So he's a pressure heavy character, mixed monster, plus he can counter its zoners, like that's godlike. And if he meter burns one of his special moves, it leaves him insanely plus and you're in front of him. You have to block. It's annoying to deal with, especially against someone like Quan Chi, who's constantly mixing you up and making you guess. He barely gives you time to think about your next move, so that's why I'd probably put him towards probably the best character in this tier so far. And last but not least, Shaolin Kung Jin. I'd have to put him towards middle of B tier. Shaolin, before the patch, was godlike because his chakram, it's like a boomerang effect. It went through you and came back, and it's full combos. But now, it doesn't come back at all. So, it's one of the faster projectiles in the game. You can angle where it goes up or low. You can throw it low completely, and he has this attack where like he arcs up into the air and he can drop down as an overhead. I don't think it's that scary because back in the day you could delay it so much or just not delay it at all and then just go into some more pressure because people were scared of the overhead. But in terms of like it being useful, I don't see it that useful as it like just being his main combo ender because this was Injustice because that thing side switches in this game, but if it be an Injustice block system and this move existed in Injustice, I think it'd be a problem considering that it side switches most of the time, or it doesn't, depending on how high you go. Other than that, Shaolin has decent pressure, really good zoning. Shaolin or Kung Jin himself just has mix with back one 3, and then 4 2 4, and one's overhead starter, one's a low, so he just has good mix-ups overall. And that's it for this video, guys. This is just part 1, and I'll be ranking A tier, S tier, and S plus in another video, so be sure on the lookout and turn on post notifications. Alright, peace guys.